Namaskar. In this video I will discuss about methods. The study took place in January 1988 at Charing Cross Medical School in London, UK. 34 female subjects were assigned into 3 groups. Group 1 consisted of experienced yoga practitioners selected from a pool of volunteers associated with the Satyananda Yoga Centres in Essex and London. The mean age of the 13 subjects in this group was 32.7 years, range 25-43 years. The mean length of yoga practice was 8.3 years, range 4-15 years. Group 2 subjects consisted of Charing Cross Medical School students with no previous experience in meditation or yoga. They were randomly selected and had a mean age of 22 years, range 20-25 years. Group 3 was a control asterisk group of medical students drawn from the same pool as Group 2. The difference in mean age between Group 1 and Group 2 and 3 was unavoidable due to difficulty in finding a young experienced yoga practitioners and an older control group of inexperienced subjects. All subjects were studied while seated in a sound attenuated light controlled neurophysiological chamber, Faraday cage. Data was taken by means of a brain electrical activity mapping, beam instrument, neuroscience PVT, limited USA. This transforms the brain's electrical activity from the 3-dimensional curved surface of the scalp and cortex to a 2-dimensional color image on a visual display unit with an outline of the head in the center. Input was derived from 26 monopolar electrode sites, using a modified 1020 electrode system recommended by the International Federation of EEG Studies. The special cup-shaped electrodes were placed inside a nylon mesh cap and contacted the skin through a cushion of electrolyte gel. The electrodes convert ionic potential generated by nervous tissue into measurable electric potentials. Electrolyte gel was injected through the electrode cup hole and had the effect of both reducing the impedance between the skin and the electrodes and sticking the electrodes firmly to the skin. The distance from the cathode to the anode was measured and the frontal polar electrodes positioned 10% of that distance above the cathode. The occipital electrodes were placed the same distance above the anode. Reference electrodes were attached to each earlobe, thereby connecting the subject to the common earth of the beam machine. Single values were obtained for each of the electrodes representing the amount of energy in a given EEG frequency band. The outline, electrode coordinates, and the interpolation weights were stored together in a computer for map generation. The visual display unit can present a map in 4 manners and left and right hemispheres. The dual presentation is a top-down, superior-inferior view with the subject's nose at the top of the screen. The specific frequency band and voltage color scale is presented at the right edge of the screen. The number of frames since the beginning of any operation is also shown with the equivalent time span alongside it. 1 frame equals 2.5 seconds. In this way, the topographic distribution of spectral energy in any classic EEG frequency band can be viewed at any 2.5 second epoch. The numerical matrices underlying the images are stored for later statistical analysis. At the beginning of each session, subjects were asked to sit quietly for 5 minutes with their eyes open while basal data was recorded. These subjects were asked to gaze at a target and suppress their eye blinking until a period of 1 minute of artifact-free recording was established. At this stage, verbal communication ceased and lighting was dimmed. Group 1, experienced yogis, and Group 2, inexperienced, then listened to a tape recording of a yoga nidra practice with their eyes closed. The practice was comprised of 4 parts: progressive awareness of the parts of the right then left side of the body, 2 minutes duration each, awareness of the face, curved line chest, back, abdomen and thighs, 2.5 minutes duration, and finally a visualization sequence with images of a walk through the mountains, on a beach and returning home, 25.5 minutes duration. Group 3 listened to a control tape by the same speaker in the same tone at the same rate of speech. The subject matter concerned the physiology of meditation. After listening to the tapes, the subjects were again asked to sit quietly while basal data was recorded. Subjects who had listened to the Yoga Nidra tape were questioned as to the nature of the visualization in order to determine whether the subject had fallen asleep.